Hey guys, Matthew here, and today I want to share with you guys my top 6 tips and tricks to the most successful league start you can ever ask for. So as PoE grows in size and popularity, it feels like there's a million of different tools and websites and this and that available to you, and it can become very overwhelming to know what's good and what's worth using. And there's a lot of these tools that are essentially the same thing over and over again, and my idea here is to share with you guys the ones that I think are mandatory for every single player, no matter if you're a brand new player in the game or if you're a seasoned veteran and you've been playing since beta. If you're playing PoE, you quite frankly should be taking advantage of these tools, as they're there to make your life easier. And I mean, who doesn't want to have a better experience when playing PoE? So PoE all starts with the initial leveling, and if you can get a better leveling, you will have a severe advantage over the portion of the player base who are slower at leveling. And fortunately for us, there's this document made by Engineering Eternity, which is a huge Path of Exile YouTube channel. Lots of great content there, by the way. Shout out to him. And this tool is essentially a Google Doc with all of the different layouts in every zone, pretty much. Or at least the harder ones, if you will. The ones that have a little bit more variance to them. So huge shout out to him for that. But this can be kind of annoying when you're thinking about actually playing the game. You've got your second monitor opened, and now you've got to scroll through this as you're going through your layouts. It's not great, and while the information is really, really good, not everybody has a second monitor and wants to alt-tab every few seconds to see where they should be going in this specific layout. So there's this tool here that was actually made by Just Kill Me Quick, which I'll be linking down below, which actually takes all of these different layouts and basically puts them as an overlay on top of your screen. Now, this tool is not the only thing that this does. Actually, it also lets you put little notes on the side of your screen. So no matter what build you're playing, the links that you're looking for, the colors of your links, or the different gems and where you acquire them and all that, it's a very good way to remind you of everything you need to be doing in different zones, in different actual acts in the game, to try to get the best experience that you can. You even have, as you can see here, an overlay for your actual skill tree, so that you don't even need your path of building opened. You can actually have an overlay whenever you open up your skill tree to know exactly where you're going. Quite frankly, this, especially if you're a newer player, you should definitely be using this, as it's going to save you a tremendous amount of time, because the vast majority of people, when it comes to leveling, spend way too much time running around with no purpose because they don't understand or know the layouts that they're in. But the second thing is that they're very inefficient with the time they spend in town. And that's where a lot of people spend way too much time, is in town trying to buy gems or sell their different items and stuff. And this tool allows you to know exactly what you need and when you need it, and it's based on your own notes. So it is a really big time saver. And again, I heavily recommend this tool, especially if you're a newer player. A little bit less if you're a little bit more of a seasoned veteran and you understand and you're already pretty accustomed to leveling. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something that I've been preaching forever, and that is the chaos recipe. Again, the reason why the chaos recipe is so good is not because it's going to get you mirrors, it's just because it's going to put you ahead of the curve, and every time you're ahead of the curve, you are able to supplement the people behind you and make a profit off of that. So the chaos recipe, in my opinion, is pretty much mandatory for league starting for pretty much anybody to get the ball rolling. It won't make you rich, but it will put you at a very big advantage, and it will basically make sure that you can afford all of these different things that you need to afford, especially for progression. Even things like, for example, mapping materials. Now, I have a video about this whole tool. If you want to check that out, I explain all of the different features and how to set it up properly and what everything does, basically. But you could also just go ahead and grab this tool from the link down below and figure it out yourself. It's not rocket science. It's actually pretty simple, and it's really, really well done. Again, huge shout out to Kosachi, hopefully I pronounced that right, for making this tool, because it's kind of a game changer. Next thing, once you're done leveling and you start doing your chaos recipe, you're probably going to be in maps. So the next thing you need to understand is how to progress your Atlas. And no, with the Virtual League coming up and the whole new Maven mechanic, this did not change whatsoever. The actual Atlas and how to progress your Atlas stayed the exact same. And this is good because it just so happens that we have a guide here made by dbrody6 over on Reddit, which is probably the best guide I've ever read when it comes to progressing your Atlas. Unfortunately, it's a little bit overcomplicated, so shout out to myself once again. I actually have a video about this whole thing explaining pretty much step by step how to acquire all your 32 watchstones. So if you're interested in understanding how the Atlas mechanic actually works and how to really speed up getting those 32 watchstones and making sure that every single map you run has a purpose, check out that video. Now, once you're in your maps and you've understood the Atlas, the next big thing is that you want to start making currency, right? You want to actually start, no matter what your character is based on, be it boss killing or mapping and speed mapping or whatever it is, even flipping, you want to know how to make currency, and the best tool for that is going to be the PoE profit sheet. Now, this is a Google document as well, or an Excel spreadsheet, I should say, which is public. Now, I would highly recommend checking out the README plus copy instructions to make your own copy of this, which is also going to be automatically updating. Because unfortunately, if you're to use the main one, there's quite a bit of chance that you're going to end up not having access to it, especially on League Start, as I've seen it sometimes hundreds of people accessing this document at once, and what happens is that it just crashes. So making your own copy is going to prevent the crashing, and it's still going to update as well automatically. So what this does, actually, you can't see at the bottom, but there's multiple different tabs. So there's bossing, prophecies, divination cards, miscellaneous, which is things like using blessings on different items, gems, so things like leveling gems, if it's more worth it to level them to level 20, and then vow them for 21, if it's worth it to flip them from level 20 to 20 quality. All of that is essentially going to be listed here, and which gems are the most profitable to learn. So you no longer have to go to PoE Ninja to the gem section and try to figure out, oh, should I be leveling Enlightens this league, or should I be leveling Rig Specters, right? This is all there, and it's literally one click away. So massive shout out to whoever made this. I actually don't know who the author is, but it is literally the best tool when it comes to making currency. Even people who have access to my database, this is one of the biggest thing I send them towards outside of like crafting related content. So prophecies, things like upgrading faded uniques with good rolls on the non-faded version will keep their good rolls on the faded version. For example, Hyri's Demise will keep its life gained on hit, but also its attack speed roll whenever you upgrade it. So buying a cheap one, unupgraded version that's actually really well rolled, and then turning it into an upgraded version will net you more profit even. So there are ways to obviously make some of these even better, but really great information that we have available here. It's got every single bosses in the game, so you can know, for example, if I'm thinking about farming Chula right now, day 3 of a league for those blessings, what's my estimated profit going to be? And it's based on the odds of actually getting these said drops and the value of these drops. And this information and all these prices are pulled from PoE Ninja, as is with literally every other tool I've ever seen. Everything just pulls off of PoE Ninja. So it is pretty close in terms of price. It is pretty accurate is what I should be saying. So no matter if you're wanting to boss, if you're a prophecy farmer, if you're somebody who likes flipping divination cards or leveling gems, all of it is available to you in this Google document, which is a goldmine of information when it comes to making currency. Now, on the topic of currency, another thing that you can use is try to use the past in order to predict the future. So if you're somebody who actually tends to make a little bit more currency than your average player, and you want to try to multiply that currency, you can use tools such as PoE Antiquary, and this is probably my favorite tool to use in the entire game, as you can see the prices of pretty much every single item in the game. In past leagues, as you can see here, it says older leagues, and you have access to like a bunch of older leagues, and you can see the price of any items at any point in both Chaos and Exalts, and I believe this also pulled from PoE Ninja. So pretty accurate information there. Note though that when it comes to selling things in bulk and pricing things a little bit higher for bulk markups, those will not be accounted for, as it's not accounted for on PoE Ninja. But you could see, for example, let's just say you were trying to, as I mentioned in my last video, I spoke about inspired learnings. So let's just go ahead and check out, just for this example, inspired learning. So we can look in Heist League, in Exalts, it started off at 2x and then it very quickly dropped down to like 1x. And for the vast majority of the league, it was below 1 Exalt. Now, if you look in Harvest, for example, inspired learning started off at 2x and again went down to less than an x for the vast majority of the league. And we can do that for every item in the game. So we can use the past to try to predict the future. And that is a very, very powerful resource for people trying to multiply how much currency they're making. Because normally I just tell people to buy either mirrors if they can afford them, or parts of a mirror, right? Through either divination cards or mirror shards or anything like that. But the thing is that while mirrors are typically very safe, there are things that actually go up in price much faster than mirrors. And using something like PoE Antiquary is one of the best ways to try to predict what these things are going to be based on both the meta and the past. Huge, huge gold mine of information once again with this tool. And the last thing I want to talk about, again, while we're on the topic of currency, is going to be pricing your items. So one of the questions that I get the most is like, how do I price this? There's nothing like this. It's really annoying to price items in PoE, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? We have a tool for that too. And my favorite one is Awakened PoE Trade. And this is a game changer. If you go in a map and you drop, let's say, a random unique item, you can go ahead and Control D. Tool pops up, tells you, oh, this is worth, so much. This is worth 4 chaos, let's say. But now let's say we're talking about a unique. Let's just say we're talking about a Carcass Jack, which is a pretty popular unique at the start of a league. Now, not all Carcass Jacks are equals. You have multiple rolls on a Carcass Jack that can both increase and decrease its value. For example, the area damage and the area of effect, the life, the evasion, and the energy shield, the all res. All of those rolls matter. So say you drop a Carcass Jack, Control D, checks it's worth 30C. Cool. But now, if you realize, hey, my Carcass Jack seems to be rolled a little bit better than your average Carcass Jack. It's got 48 AoE, 48 area damage, and a 68 life roll, right? Which are all rolls that are on the top end. Now you can press Control-Alt-D, if I remember correctly, and it's going to open up this, so you can actually decide which of the stats you think are worth the most. So for example, he's using an Abyssus here and he gets to choose, okay, the melee critical multiplier has a range of 100 to 125. He's got a roll of 106. So he can tell the tool exactly which rolls to look for. So what the tool is going to do is, based on the inputs that you are giving it, is going to basically open up the trade website and look for items that are similar without you actually having to do anything except wait a few seconds, and then it's going to tell you the prices of items that are very, very similar to what you're asking. Now, these are minimums though, so for example, if you're asking for 106, it's not going to look for any rolls of 105 or below, so you do have to be a little bit careful with that, so that you're not too strict on every single one of these rolls, because otherwise you might think that there's no item as good as yours, but realistically, if you drop one of these stats down by a couple values, all of a sudden, there's a million of them. So you don't want to be too strict, but it is the best way to speed price items and to lose the least amount of time when it comes to going to the website and individually looking up all of these roles. So another game changer, if you don't use a trade macro, you really should be using a trade macro. It's pretty much the baseline when it comes to people making currency for mapping, because there's nothing else that is going to actually help you price these items as fast as a trade macro. And again, Awakened PoE Trade, by far my favorite, so huge shout out to SNOSME for the work he is doing on this, and it is going to be updated, of course, for the Ritual League, so no problem there. And that is pretty much my 6 most important tips, tricks, and tools that I would be using, and that I will be using, actually, for a proper league start. Of course, some of them go for more than just a league start, like the second half of the ones that I spoke about. The first ones are mostly for initially in the league, but definitely things that you want to be taking advantage of, because it will give you a pretty big advantage on everybody who is not using tools like this. So again, that's pretty much everything I have for this video. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to my supporters, Cluzy, Lero, Gaikona, JW Player, Scott, Justin, Alex, Ollie, Matt, Kevin, Bit, Axel, and Aiden, as well as anybody else who wishes to remain anonymous and anybody else who has supported me in the past. Big thanks to you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.